Yeah, it's all downhill from here. In the words of the Hamilton musical, dying is easy, governing is harder. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Sable and I talk about comics and all things nerdy. We just got episode 3 of season three's House of the Dragon, but interestingly enough, this episode actually got leaked online, so I was doing my best to avoid the spoilers because I wanted to form my own opinion, and I'm so happy that I did. It's a different type of episode. It's not all the dragons and fire that we're used to, violence and gore that we come to expect for every episode. This was more of the political side, which is an important part in the Game of Thrones universe. So if you didn't particularly care too much for this episode, I understand why, but it is important to the setup of the rest of the season. And I still like some things that this episode did. And of course, if it's not obvious by now, spoiler alert, Rhaenyra has now become queen after a long and arduous battle, but the fight doesn't stop there. She now has to rule, and she's finding that ruling might be harder than it was actually getting the crown. In the words of the Hamilton musical, dying is easy, governing is harder. So this episode all takes place within the first few days of Rhaenyra's rule, and she already has nothing but whining, complaining, moaning in her ear all day long from the moment she gets off that Iron Throne. She has to deal with lords, she has to deal with her own family, she still has to deal with some of the high towers, she has to deal with the peasants, she has to deal with it all. And the episode does a good job of showing how overwhelming it is, especially because she has an idea of how she wants things to be done, but the people around her is not always going to allow that to happen. Like, this is a perfect example of just accidentally becoming too important at work. When you first get your job and they hand you a Lenovo laptop, like, you know they're about to put you to work. Don't bother looking at your PTO because you're never going to use it. But I love how this conflict forces her to have a conversation with Allison that I really like, in which she asks Allison, you were basically the ruler while my father was ill. How do you do it? And Allison's like, there's no way you can do this job and still be true to yourself. You're going to find yourself making decisions, making choices that is going to be very unpopular. You're going to find yourself doing things that you never thought you would do. And Rhaenyra's like, no, that's never going to be me. I'm always going to be true to myself. And Allison's like, we'll see. And I think Allison might be right. I think Rhaenyra is kind of underestimating how vicious you kind of have to be in order to rule King's Landing. And we see this in Game of Thrones. We see that every time we have somebody who wants to be a nice ruler, I'm thinking of Tommen, I'm thinking of Daenerys, we see that circumstances will just not allow that, because no matter how nice you want to be, everyone around you has their own motives. Everyone around you has things they're willing to do to get their plans accomplished. And you're gonna have to battle with some sick, twisted people. And Rhaenyra is already feeling the effects of that power struggle because she hears that the lords and ladies, while she was away, were hoarding resources while the lowborn were kind of starving. So she pulls off this power move by inviting all the lords and ladies to dinner. And as they sit down to eat, as they uncover the tops, they see that they are being fed rats, the things that the lowborn had to eat, while the rich were taking care of themselves. Obviously, they're pissed about this and they get into a verbal altercation with her. And she's like, your money is meant to be helping everyone, not just yourself. And I'm going to be the voice to stick up for the lowborn. Now, we love a moment like this, right? We love a giving queen. We love a just queen. We love somebody who actually tries to look out for the little people. This does not work in the Game of Thrones universe. Unfortunately, I believe Tyrion's the one who said, if you want to rule, you need lords and ladies. You need the support of houses. And I think Rhaenyra may have made a big mistake. It may have been a power move in the moment, but further down the line, I think it's going to bite her in the butt. Meanwhile, she also has Daemon trying to get her to take more force. He wants her to use her dragons and go out and conquer, just like Aegon did. He said, Aegon had 3 dragons, you have 6. Why are we asking lords and ladies for money? We can go take it. Sounds like a good idea in theory, but I think this is one of the reasons why Daemon was not meant to be king. This idea of just taking everything by force, killing by force, only go so far. You're only going to make more enemies that way. And Rhaenyra tells him that dragons are not meant to be used this way. They are a power that is not meant to be messed with. And Daemon doesn't really respect that right now. He understands that she has morals just like her dad did, but you can tell he also feels like their kindness can sometimes be weakness. He doesn't really understand that there is a time and place for aggression. Aggression cannot be the default. But we also see this in the way that Daemon tries to get Rhaenyra to kill Daeron. So Daeron is one of Alicent's sons who was in the High Tower territory and technically has a claim to the throne. So when Daemon forces the rest of the High Towers to bend the knee, he takes Daeron into custody because he is a threat to Rhaenyra's claim to the crown. And he wants Rhaenyra to basically kill him. And Rhaenyra, once again, doesn't want to do that, especially because he's a very young boy. He's a kid. So, as a way of compromising, Rhaenyra says that she's going to send Daeron to the wall where he will take the black, become one of the Night's Watch, and live out his days where he doesn't have to be killed, but he also cannot threaten Rhaenyra's rule. But Daeron is very quiet. He doesn't say anything, he doesn't do anything, and Rhaenyra's kind of like, bro, like, did you hear what I said? And he doesn't really do much. But she does allow Alicent to see him one last time before she sends him away because it's her son and she wants to see him one last time. But when she walks into the room, she's looking at Daron like, who are you? And Rhaenyra's like, that's not your son? And Alicent's like, no, I've never seen this kid before in my life. And now Rhaenyra, pissed, is like, who are you? And the fake Daron's like, I'm sorry, they disguised me. They told me I had to play this role or they was gonna hang my mom. So they told me I had to pretend to be a prince for a couple of days or something like that. And Rhaenyra's pissed because she's looking at Alicent like, are you playing games, sis? What's going on? And Alicent's like, I've been here, sis. I'm sorry. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what my kids, what my cousin is planning outside. I've been here, but I promise you, I don't know what they're doing, what they're planning. So now Rhaenyra is like, Aegon is still out there, Darren is still out there, and the High Towers are still conspiring against me. Once again, first week on the job, and it's not smooth sailing like she probably thought it would be. And, and, to top it all off, Rhaenyra is standing there getting ready because she wants to have her coronation, which doesn't end up happening, but she's standing there getting ready. And Sis says, I'm bleeding, meaning she just got her period. And when I tell you, every woman watching that scene knows exactly what that feels like, knows exactly how pissed you are when it's the most important day of your life and Aunt Flo wants to bring her scraggly behind to ruin your day. Just a cherry on top of a terrible cake. And I felt so bad for Rhaenyra in that moment because, once again, sis, I get it. I understand it. Last but not least, the most controversial part of this episode, which was leaked online, was the verbal altercation she gets between her and Lord Corlys. Now, Lord Corlys has lost basically all of his family. He has no heirs except for the two sons that are illegitimate to him. And he asked Rhaenyra, listen, all I ask is that you give them my name, that you legitimize them. Rhaenyra originally seems like she agrees to this, but later when she's giving out the knight titles, she does not legitimize Lord Corlys' son. He comes back to her and is like, sis, what's up with that? Like, I lost my castle. I have no fleet. I have nothing. All I asked for this one thing and you can't give it to me. And Rhaenyra is like, I'm sorry, but there are a lot of rumors about my kids not being legitimate. How would it look if I start legitimizing kids that I know are not legitimate? Like, people are still just speculating about my kids, but we know those are not yours. I can't be seen doing that. Not right now. She's like, maybe down the line we can revisit this, but not right now. Lord Corlys don't want to hear that. He's like, no, your kids are not legitimate. Viserys lived and died a bastard. And she's like, I know you did not just talk about my son who died not just 3 days ago. You've lost your mind. But she can't even say that because she is taken aback. He is screaming this at her loud enough for almost everybody in the castle to hear. And I thought this was so strange because The way that people are talking to Rhaenyra as a queen, it's almost like she can't get your head chopped off. It was very strange how they're just so comfortable with her to basically disrespect her any chance they get. But what I like about that is that it's kind of showing that just because she came and got her crown back doesn't mean everybody is going to fall right in line. And I think that's a misconception about being a ruler, especially in Game of Thrones, is that just because you sit the Iron Throne doesn't mean you're in charge here. And the way everyone is treating Rhaenyra in this episode and has been treating her pretty much all of the season, it's like, hey, you're queen by name, but you're not really in charge here. And Rhaenyra kind of has to find a way to get people to fall in line because if this keeps happening, if this is the pattern, they are going to run all over her. I saw a lot of people complain about this scene because it's different, I guess, from the books in that they don't think Lord Corlys would speak to Rhaenyra like that. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read the books. In this moment, for this characterization, I can understand why he is reacting that way, but I feel like it's still not wise because regardless of your relationship with Rhaenyra, she's still the queen, and how you speak to her and letting this information come out will come back to bite you. And I think that is a theme of this episode. Everything everyone is doing will come back to bite them. And I think Rhaenyra refusing to legitimize those sons will also come back to bite her. I seen Rhaenyra, I think, make two mistakes in that episode: the rats and the not legitimizing. I think that unfortunately, that's not going to work out well for her in the end. That was my review of this episode. Let me know what you think.